Good morning. Namaste. Good morning, beautiful souls. Welcome. Welcome to I don't know what number this is. This is the reading for the Tower today. And this is not an easy card to have like yesterday's card. This is not an easy one to navigate through. And so I'm going to take my time with this one today and help you to find some deep inspiration and comfort through navigating this particular card. It is a powerful one, and it is a really beautiful opportunity. And I thought today I would just start, and I was going to go dig out the decks, but I would like to invite you to close your eyes, and I want to describe to you two of my favorite Tower cards. One of them is from the Lily White Tarot. Imagine yourself in a great forest. You are a great elk, and it has come to the time of the year where you will shed your rack, that powerful crown that you wear upon your head. And as that heavy crown releases from your head and falls to the ground before your feet, you're taken to your knees with the weight of its release. Nature has taken its course, and lightning strikes the forest behind you and illuminates everything around. There is smoke. The fire, the smoke, the ash, all a part of your transformation. You straighten those front legs and you stand there, wondering if you are as great without your crown. In your vulnerability, you return to your herd. You return to your herd. And you walk away. When I see that card, it almost breaks my heart. I cannot imagine what an elk feels like when that massive rack tumbles off the head. I don't know. I've never seen it. Obviously, we wouldn't see that happen. Whether it comes off in one piece or two pieces or multiple pieces. I know sometimes I'm assuming it would be very rare to find an intact full rack in the forest. And then another favorite Tower card comes from the Folarcos Tarot. And this one is a woman. And I see her in the skirts of her dress are chiffon and they're very flowy. And she is gazing up to the heavens. And it's as if the power of God meets her throat, and this energy moves down from her throat all through her physical body and parts and separates her in two pieces. It's really interesting that the Kundalini doesn't enter through the crown, but enters through the throat in this painting, leading me to think that part of the journey of this card is a commitment, a complete and utter commitment to one's authenticity. Now, I know historically There's there's a lot there's a lot that's been written about this card and the Tower of Babel and that story from the Bible. And if you have been doing this work, you understand that each and every one of our transitions, each and every one of our obstacles, the redirections that seem to come out of nowhere are always for our greater good. And so, in that particular story, there, rather than looking at that story as sort of a vindictive, malicious God separating the people so they can't communicate and they all speak different languages, what is the gift in that? And I think we need to turn to that story and look at the gift that came from the spreading of the people, from the diversity, and from the mythology of that story as well, too. It's important both in that image of the woman and the image of the elk and the image of each of the towers that you see here, as tree and as tower, and I believe as tree again, maybe as a tree tower, that we take time to reflect on what that tower represents for us as an individual. And the tower is you. The tower is your physical body. The physical body of the elk, the physical body of the woman, the physical body of you. This temple that we are given when we incarnate is one that we abuse, misuse. We test it, we take it to its limits. And I think until we are taken to our knees, we forget how important it is to nurse it, to take good care of it, that it is the house of God. It is the house of the goddess. It is the house of our spirit. It is the house of our soul. And so this particular card really does get us to think about why aspects of that, bits and pieces of that, are falling down. I love to watch medical drama. And I was watching an episode of New Amsterdam yesterday or recently. And when there is necrotic tissue, it's really important that the surgeon removes all of the necrotic tissue so that it doesn't, so the necrosis doesn't continue inside, or sometimes it's external as well too. And that is a very painful process. I mean, if you're awake, think of burn victims in removing the dead skin so that steps can be taken to help to encourage the new skin to grow. We need to take away the dead bits and pieces, the dead layers. The parts that no longer serve, the parts that no longer have any prana. Go back to a time when you were ill, when you were lying in bed, wondering, I mean, this is so very, very powerful. For those of you that are just coming in now, good morning, welcome. I encourage you to go back and listen to the first few minutes. I was just feeling really inspired with this card. And I personally remember when I was experiencing COVID, and I don't get sick. But I did. I had COVID and it was really bad, and I thought I was going to die, honestly. Um, and as I lay there in my bed, there was just a piece of me that wanted to remember what that kind of experience represents and how important it is to let that um, kind of event remove what it needs to remove, clean up what it needs to clean up. I think we can, along with spirit, be the surgeon who removes the necrosis. And I'd like to read to you just a little bit about a little bit from Jodorowsky's book. And if you don't have this Jodorowsky, uh, The Way of the Tarot, the spiritual teacher in the cards, it's quite a heavy read, but um, it's just full of amazing insight. And I love that he finds the spiritual messages in the Tarot de Marseille, and I'm really looking to sharing more of this book with you as I go through 2024. This is from page 225, if you have the book. And if the tower spoke, I am the temple. The entire world is an altar I make sacred. My life, like yours, proves at every heartbeat that the world is divine, that the flesh is a living celebration and life a never-ending construction. With me, you will know the joy that is the key to the sacred. I am life itself, the transformation and the reconstruction, the flame and the energy of everything alive, of all the matter and all the spirit. If you wish to enter me, you must rejoice. Cast into the fire the infantile whims of sorrow and fear, and ask yourself every time you awake, what shall I celebrate now? I am the cataclysmic joy of living, the permanently unforeseen and marvelous catastrophe. I feel like reading more. I'm going to read one more paragraph. A defensive crown once isolated me from the world. A cork of old words covered my mind, and clouds of crystallized, mummified, I don't know this word, sclerotic feelings cast a shadow over my heartbeats and prevented the light from emerging. A thick cloak of desires transformed my appetite for life into a jailer. I was flesh without God, consuming itself in the flames of its own existence, my ego converted into a prison. I'll just read you the last couple of lines. Then the joy burst forth. The high was low, the low was high. Like a queen bee, I began to engender joyful beings. God was in me, and I was only worshipful matter. I knew that I could burst, that each of my bricks would travel through infinity like a bird. I knew that everything imprisoned in matter gushed through me. I was the central pillar of a cosmic dance. I was quite simply the human body in full reception of its original energy. And so I invite you to go back to those first two visions I gave you. And if you have those two cards, you might want to pull them out from the Lily White and the Philarkos. This is you being burst open to your true and authentic self. And yeah, it is a very vulnerable place to be, but it also is grace. And so if this is your card, honestly, fear does not serve here. This is a time to be brave and to honor your vulnerability and to honor the power of the spirit that is within. The body will heal, the heart will heal, and you will come out the other side a different person. Yeah. I'm going to shuffle and do the cards. But I remember I've often talked about Ananda Shakti, one of my mentors, teachers. And when she was doing a reading for me, she said something. Well, it's not she. She downloads Archangel Metatron, and she said something to me like, "Your face is changing. You will look, by the end of this year or something. You will look different." It was the strangest thing. I have to go back and listen to that recording. But that's part of what this is. On a cellular level, we are always changing, but there is some emphasis this year about that. This is not something happening to you. It is your heightened awareness of you emerging. There's some beautiful words in James Hagelin's poem. I'll get to that in a little bit. These cards are intended to inspire, to build intention and support for those who are working with the Tower card in 2024. As always, we ask these messages be in the highest for the greatest good and that no harm be done. And just so you know, I'm going to be on 2 more times today, my regular chat at 12, but also I'm going to come back on at 11 Pacific to talk more about my spread because there have been some questions about why I'm laying the cards down the way I am. So I'll be addressing that at 11 a.m. Chariot. I'm starting with Mars. 2 of Cups. Mm-hmm. 6 of Swords. Can you see that one? There you go. Emperor on Venus. Hermit. That's interesting. Mercury moving within, Mercury slowing down. The light, the lamp, the wand, Judgment on the Moon card. So this card is in the Golden Dawn system anyway. This is primordial fire. So this is a very, very powerful card to have here. I think this is beautiful confirmation that this is a powerful year of transformation to your truth. So you will find this Mother of Swords. Wow, there's not really much to say here, is there? Wow. Those are some powerful cards, my friends. And bottom of the pile is the 10 of Swords. Mm. Can you on a regular basis. I think Shavasana is a really important position. Um, People joke that I live for Shavasana, or Shavasana is the best part of the yoga class. And some people are immensely uncomfortable in Shavasana. And when I'm teaching a class, I cue Shavasana. I take time to help people find comfort in that. There's an exposure in Shavasana. It's a lot like standing in just a standing warrior pose with your heart open and your body fully exposed. I feel like this reading it's like it's a gentle opening and awakening. If you haven't heard this story, this has actually come up a few times in different retreats that I have been to, and we were asked to stand in just a standing pose with arms at the side. You bring your legs parallel to the side of the mat. We actually didn't do this on a mat. We were outside, and to find alignment and center and stand. And we were to stand there until the tears flowed. And for some people, this took moments, and we were very spread out. We weren't in the immediate vicinity of anyone. But this feels like this. I remember a movie with Holly Hunter where she cried all the time. Was it The Piano? I can't remember. And she would just sit and be with her feelings and burst into tears. Oh, sorry about that, Susie. And yes, sometimes Susie is Sanique Taro. Sometimes we don't carry on in this lifetime. And I want to say something in response to this. And this goes back to the beginning of where I all began, and that is this tower, this temple that we possess, that we are given in this lifetime. It is so important to build its strength. It is the house of God. It is the house of our spirit. It is the house of our soul. And in order to sustain the power when it becomes intense, the physical body needs to be able to sustain that. Now, this is so apparent when we become ill. So can the physical body endure the illness? Is it strong enough to do that? This is also really important when we are learning how to meditate and we start to experience little awakenings through the chakras. The temple needs to have a certain strength to it. In Jodorowsky's book, he talks about the doors on the tower, the unseen steps that lead up to the front door of the tower. And in some old cards there were 3 stairs, in some cards there were 7 stairs. 7 stairs, like Jacob's ladder, like the chakra system, like the 7 steps to the awakening. And so you have the number 7 on your first card. On your first card, there is a call to action. What is my personal call to action this year? And think about the Chariot. If you have the Marielle Tarot, go back and read Marie White's words on what the Chariot represents. I mean, there's some great pieces that have been written about the Chariot. Bringing aspects of the self together to move forward. The journey forward is, and it's your second card is the Two of Cups. So this is the beginning of new feelings and new understandings. Perhaps as a Cancer card, this is going back to your beginnings and your mother and healing of wounds from long ago. We have had several readings that I've really felt like we are going back to earlier years, and 2024 is a year of healing childhood trauma. And Susie, please don't take my sharing and my expression. I have every bit of compassion and heartfelt caring for the anguish, the heartbreak in losing a loved one to COVID or another illness or an accident. It's devastating. It's devastating. It is maybe it's a part of breaking us open. It's really hard to understand that, to put all of the pieces together. So there's a lot more to say here, and I'm going to carry on with the rest and try to weave this all together in part 2. And if you would like to hear more, please join me. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. Namaste. Here's the link for part 2. Much love to you all.